Okay, well, it's 5 o'clock. I will call to order Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting for February. And we will begin with roll call. Barb?
Here.
Greg? Here. Ralph? Here. Vern? Here. And I'm here. We're all here. Very good. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second that. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
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 Motion carries. We have a motion to approve the minutes for January 14, 2026.
I move that we approve the minutes from last month.
Second that.
I'll second.
Issues with them. All those in favor say aye.
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 That motion carries. Disclosures and conflicts of interest. Anything, Barb?
Nope.
Right?
No.
Ralph?
No.
Vern? Nope. Nor do I. In that case, we will proceed with the election of the chair. Is there a nomination for someone to be chairman for the coming year? I would be happy to nominate Mr. Platt to serve. Whoa. Go ahead, Barb. Go ahead.
I nominate our current chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? In that case, all those in favor of nominating me for the chair for the year, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries.
We're not nominating you, we were electing you.
Yeah.
Maybe y'all want to take that back now. Well, these things happen. And then we also need to elect a vice chair. Is there a nomination for a vice chair?
I don't know.
I nominate Craig O'Brien.
I nominated myself, but
I'm kind of the new kid on the block here. I don't know if that's a great idea, but I would Malcolm, my partner here next to me, that somebody with a little bit more knowledge, starting out at the beginning, I may not be the best vice chair, so.
Given we have kind of competing motions, I'll second the first one I heard, which was Rob's nomination of herself.
Okay, in that case, we do have a second. Any further discussion? In that case, all in favor of electing Rolf to be the vice chairman, say aye.
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 Okay, that motion carries. Very good. We'll proceed with our first public application. This is Cicerelli, if I pronounced that correctly.
Yes, you did.
Zoning District Amendment, ZDA -12-25. Joe, you're the presenter.
Yes, all right. The applicant and owner is John and Susan Cicerelli. The address is 126 Lakeside Drive. Their request is to change the zoning to agricultural residential from agricultural. There were some reviews. Rob Fisher had no issues. Tracy Fletcher had no issues. Conservation District commented on the soils, erosion, and reclamation. Their full comments can be seen in the review section. YDOT had no issues, and Game and Fish had no issues. The applicable sections of the Albany County zoning resolution is Chapter 3, Section 5C. Pursuant to the Albany County zoning resolution, Chapter 3, Section 5C6 of the Board of County Commissioners must make the following findings: that the applicant has provided a site plan required by the planning department, that the zoning district amendment generally follows the suggestions of the Albany County comprehensive plan, including but not limited to long-range growth plan and the priority growth areas in Chapter 3 of the Albany County comprehensive plan, and other applicable land use plans of Albany County, and that the applicant has demonstrated that the adjudicated zoning district amendment meets all the following impacts, and that pursuant to Chapter 3, Section 5C3 of the Albany County zoning resolution, the applicant has provided the required notice posted by signed publication and certified mailing. This is located in Priority Growth Area 4. Staff analysis. The planning department believes that the proposed zoning district amendment generally follows the suggestions of the Albany County comprehensive plan. This property is currently zoned agricultural, and a change to agricultural residential is compatible with existing land uses of surrounding properties. Findings necessary for approval and applicant responses referenced in this report are adopted as findings reflecting that the applicant has met the specified impacts, and the same are incorporated herein. Conclusions of law. The applicant is proceeding in accordance with and is in compliance with the requirements of the Albany County zoning resolution, and the staff recommendation is to approve the Cicerelli zoning district amendment, ZDA 1225, adopting and incorporating the staff analysis, findings of fact, and conclusions of law as each are stated in the staff report.
Questions for staff, again, Ralph?
Yeah. What is it going to agricultural residential? Here you have agricultural and rural residential.
Right.
Is that the same thing?
So rural residential in the comp plan was anything from basically 5 acres to 35 acres.
Okay.
And then we did that split up a few years ago, which added ranchette, rural residential, and ag residential. So if they were to do a subdivision, their average lot size would have to be 20 acres. So yeah,
Okay. So basically the 35 acre is the.
it is ag.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Anything else? Craig, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Barb, do you have any questions?
No,
Vern?
Yeah, just maybe my confusion, why can't they just do an additional dwelling unit or, why do we need a zoning change to do what they want to do?
Because the structure that they want to build is larger than what the accessory dwelling standards allow for. And under another way to get another dwelling is to change your zoning and go through the conditional use. And then you don't have to, if that gets approved, then you have no limits on your dwelling size like you would for an accessory dwelling.
Okay, so that's why we have two
Yeah.
proposals for the same thing. Okay,
Correct,
that's
yeah.
just additional clarification there. No, and I thought the staff report was quite complete. Appreciated the maps and showing the floodplains and so forth. So this was a very complete staff report. There was just that one bit of confusion of why it was necessary, and I was guessing it was something like that. So thank you for that. Yeah, and I have no other questions for staff.
And I have questions. Is the applicant here?
I am.
Well, please step forward. If you'd like to say anything, go ahead. Otherwise, we may have some questions for you.
Questions first.
All right. Well, why don't we start with you, Vern?
I think I'm clear.
Thank you, sir.
Ralph?
My question is, I looked at the conditional use, which I guess we're gonna discuss later, but, is this for, family dwelling, or are you going to use it for short-term rentals, or?
No short-term rentals, no rentals at all. It is for family. I have a family of 11 in total, extended family as well. So when they come out to visit, I don't want to put them at a hotel. I want them to all be able to locate on our parcel.
Gotcha. I have a question about the conditional use, but that's for later.
Okay.
Anything, Craig?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Barb, do you have any questions?
no,
Well, I've got a question. What company were you in?
Company H2 and then A3.
How about that? I was a Gator, G2.
What year?
I graduated in 80.
80,
Yeah, so we have a next
77.
year.
You were there when you were under my 4th class system. I was deputy brigade commander.
And look how I turned out.
I'm proud.
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
No,
Anything else?
that'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
So we will conduct a public hearing. Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak on this application? I see one person online who's not signaling intent of comment or anything. All right, in that case, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I see Barb. All right, well, that motion carries.
Aye.
Discussion or a motion.
I had a question just for Barb, since we have somebody that lives out there. And it's not for or against the proposal in front of us, but I just wondered, is there a sentiment in Wild Horse for or against dividing these 40 acres into smaller pieces? In the past, we've had some pushback from neighbors saying we bought 40s, we wanted to stay 40s. Again, I'm just looking for kind of a sense of the community, if perhaps you could offer one.
it's not favorable, but, people have the right to do it.
And there are covenants that address this. Again, it's
Yes.
not our department, and
Minimum 10 acres.
those are 10 acres, is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
So
now-
after county approval, he'll have to submit his plans to the HOA for approval as well.
Joe?
As you guys have discussed the subdivision covenants, I believe that short-term rentals are also against their covenants.
Correct.
So
Yes.
there's that as well.
Yeah, I mean, we can't count on those
No.
covenants in what we're doing, but I think that's useful to just have a context for that. As I say, we have in the past gotten public feedback on expectations, as I would characterize it, which would be covered both by our zoning and then the covenants into which people have bought. Sorry, that was kind of just a background question I was interested in. I have no objections to the application.
Well, and I think it's okay as well. So maybe we have a motion.
One question. This is independent of the conditional use that we'll discuss later, right? So we can approve this one and reject the other.
That's correct.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, so I move that we recommend to the Board of County Commissioners to approve the Cicero zoning district amendment, ZDA 1225, adopting and incorporating the staff analysis, findings of fact, and conclusions of law, as each are stated in the staff report.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, we will vote. Ralph,
Aye.
Greg,
I,
Barb,
Aye.
Vern?
Aye.
And I vote aye also. That motion carries. So we will move on to the Cicerelli conditional use application, CU-05-25. Joe,
Do you want me to go through the full thing?
you can summarize it.
So same location. It's now zoned as agricultural residential. And they're looking to have a conditional use for a second dwelling on an agricultural residential zoned property. The staff analysis is that the applicant has met the impacts associated with the proposed use, and the planning department believes that their responses meet the requirements of the application. Findings of fact, the information provided as part of the findings necessary for approval and staff analysis in this report are adopted as findings, as the necessary findings for approval of the conditional use application. Conclusions of law, the applicant is proceeding in accordance with and is in compliance with the requirements of the Albany County zoning resolution. And the staff recommendation is to approve the Cicerelli's conditional use application, CU-0525, adopting and incorporating the staff analysis, findings of fact, and conclusions of law as each are stated in the staff report.
Anyone have any questions for staff?
I do about the maps.
Okay.
On the maps, it doesn't delineate where the structure is gonna go.
Yes, he hasn't filled out his zoning certificate, so that'll be like the next step. That'll be in our office. That'll be taken care of at a different time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
Question?
Go ahead.
Okay, so just to kind of follow up on the last question, so he could subdivide, breaking the lot into two quantities. No, it's not quite big enough for that, right?
45.9.
Okay, so you can do that. Or. But remind me of additional dwelling units versus accessory dwelling units versus why do we need this as opposed to other ways to get to the same?
So
It's not.
this is to create a full-size dwelling instead of an accessory dwelling, which has limits on size and that kind of stuff.
And so we need a conditional use for a second dwelling unit, and that was not available to us under the previous zoning.
Correct.
Okay.
He would have needed 70 acres to do that under ag.
Right, because the second dwelling unit has to maintain the densities of the.
Correct.
Yes, thank you for letting me walk through that carefully. Okay, I think I see where we are, and that makes good sense. He could subdivide if he wanted to.
I mean, he's asking for a conditional use for a second dwelling.
Right.
I suppose he could,
In the future, if he wants to, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just because of future possibilities, what we
Yeah.
decide here is, it doesn't affect that at all. What we just did affects.
Right.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for that? Okay, I don't think I need to take any questions or any answers for you, John, for the.
May I amplify one thing though for her concern?
Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely.
The location of the dwelling that we wish to build is co-located with the existing barn. So they would be within 75 or 80 feet of each other. So it's not intended to put a second dwelling in another portion of the parcel for any future subdivision or whatnot. We don't intend to subdivide.
So maybe it's an editorial comment, the narrative says we are requesting a zoning change. So maybe you guys could drop a note in at that point to explain what this applicant really is for. Because as it's written, it says you're requesting a zoning change adopted from the previous petition.
In the conditional use app or?
Yeah, in the conditional
Staff.
use app, maybe just as a little background or something. It's just this slightly jarring.
On mine or the one that he,
Well, I guess it's probably I'm quoting from him rather than you, but it shouldn't hurt to maybe.
well, the proposal that I see from him, in the first sentence, it says we are requesting a conditional use permit, so if it's somewhere else, please let me
Well,
know.
then where did I read that? All right, maybe I was carrying forward from the previous one. All right, maybe that was it. I thought I had read that it said there was a zoning change. All right, I'll withdraw that comment. Thank you. We're in good order.
In that case, I believe we will proceed again to a public hearing. Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak on this application? Hearing and seeing none, I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion
Aye.
carries. Any further discussion on this conditional use permit?
Okay, I'm finding what I read earlier, Mr. Chair, on the proposal summary is where it says to do both, we are requesting a zoning change to go from agricultural to agricultural residential, but that's referring to the previous application. Yeah, okay, so that's where I read that in this application, but he was referring to his previous application. Okay, I think that's clear on that, and any sensible reader could sort that out. No further comments, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else?
No.
Well, let's have a motion then.
Make a motion that we approve the recommendation to the county board, county commissioners.
We have text.
Do you have the
I have the text.
staff report?
We recommend.
Recommend the Board of County Commissioners approve the Cicerelli conditional use application, CU-05-25.
Yeah, the whole thing.
The whole.
Adopting and incorporating the staff analysis, findings of fact, and conclusions of law as each are stated in the staff report.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Second,
Any further discussion?
second,
In that case, we will proceed to the vote. Vern,
Aye.
Barb,
aye,
Rob,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I vote aye also. That motion carries. Good luck with the county commissioners.
Thanks, sir.
You're not required to stay for the rest of the meeting, but you're certainly welcome to if you want to, especially since we have got something in common here.
Yeah, very good. All right, well, thank you for your time.
Yeah. I just saw something about H2 is the most fit company in the Corps by some physical testing this fall.
Well, that would be beyond where I was.
Yeah.
We were in pretty good shape. I wouldn't say we were in the best shape.
Yeah, well, good luck.
Thanks, sir. Next item on the agenda, just curious, so that I might say,
Citizen comments.
Regarding.
Any, non-agenda related topics.
Oh.
So if you have anything to say?
No.
Yeah, well, very good then. We will move on to item 9, short-term rental survey report, draft notes discussion.
Hi, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. So, as you're aware, put out a survey, I think it was December, and collected approximately, well, it was 147 responses to that survey. We posted the survey on our website, Facebook, and we sent out a number of emails to the fire, the volunteer fire departments, improvement districts, the Centennial community members, and other groups that we could think of to send it out to. And we got the responses back. I will note that the results that we received, it was possible for someone to go in and do the survey more than one time. There wasn't a way for us to eliminate that. But I think this gives a pretty good perspective. I mean, it's nothing that we haven't already discussed and thought and kind of know where people are sitting with this. But I'll go through this real quick. So Albany County residents were about 86% of the responses. Of those that own property in the county were 93% of the responses. And then most of the responses were from outside the city and town boundaries. So 82% were in the rural area. And then so the view of the short-term rentals, respondents were more supportive, I guess. So 49% strongly support or supported short-term rentals, 34% were opposed, and 17% were neutral. We didn't have a majority, but 49% were okay with these. The majority of the responses believe that short-term rental impacts are positive or insignificant. So 30% were positive, and then 22% were no significant impact. And then 46% were negative, and then 2% were unsure. So although the majority of the responses found impacts to be insignificant or positive, a majority believe that the short-term rentals should be regulated. So 51% of all responses said yes to regulations, 44% were no, and then 4% were we don't know. Respondents also supported the prohibition or limitation on the short-term rentals. In some districts, 52% yes to prohibition or limitations in certain zoning districts, 44% no to prohibition, limitations in certain zoning districts, and then 4% unsure. Most respondents either didn't want any regulations, which was 40% of the folks, or they wanted extensive regulations. So 39% wanted extensive. So you had none or a lot. And then you had like kind of the middle area, 10% were basic and 12% were intermediate. And then, so I split it out, just did a little analysis on zip codes. As we know, 82055 is the Centennial zip code. We received 68% of the 68 responses from the Centennial area, which was approximately 46% of the survey. And then 82070, 44 responses, 30%. And then 82072 were 14 responses, which is 10%. So they could have been in the city or outside of the city because both those zip codes go both. And then all other zip codes combined, 21% were, or there was 21 responses, approximately 14%. Basically what you see in there's a little chart that was in there is that in the Centennial or 82055, they're mostly negative and they wanted strict regulations, which we kind of gathered from the participants in our meetings in the past. And then like the 82070, 82072, neutral or positive, they're okay, we don't really care too much. We're okay with some regulations or maybe not, or just a limited amount of regulations. Then other zip codes, which we can assume well, they're either out of the county or for the most part, or they could be out of the state. They were strongly supportive of short-term rentals and saw no impact or positive impacts. And they're basically opposed to regulations, which, you know, if you own property from outside of the county, you know, you may be interested in short-term rentals because you own one, you know, so that kind of makes sense. So really, like, I don't know, I'm just looking at this, it's like the survey basically just kind of validates kind of what we've heard and what we already know. Nothing too crazy came out of it. And then we did have a comment section of other comments and just a really brief summary of the comments we received back. And these were typed in comments. There were some that focused on the potential negative impacts on housing availability, nuisances, degradation of neighborhoods, impacts to streets, unfair tax advantage. Others asserted that short-term rentals provided an economic boost to the communities. Comments on regulations supported standards for health and safety with caps on the number of short-term rentals allowed. And then there's also those that believed additional regulations should not be considered. The market or the neighborhood covenant should be left to regulate short-term rentals. So that's kind of an overview of what we got back. If I had more time, I would have done a fancy PowerPoint, but unfortunately, I'm working a lot of stuff.
We got it.
We
But,
don't need fancy PowerPoints.
and is there any questions on the survey or the survey results? And then we can move on to the next part of this.
Well, in some, there was really nothing so surprising.
Right.
Yeah. Anyone have any questions for Dave?
I have one comment that made sense of the responses that made sense to me was that we should limit or prohibit it from certain categories, zoning categories.
Mhm.
And that makes sense to me that, you know, it's not a big deal if it's, you know, in a more remote area, like over residential, but might be a huge problem in neighborhood and densely populated areas. So it will be interesting to look at the map of the county and identify areas where we should maybe have more regulations and areas that we don't. That struck me as something informative, as a possibility of us doing something as a commission.
Cool, thank you.
So you'll go over options now.
Did anybody else have anything they wanted to comment on?
I think I.
Okay, I just.
Yeah.
Sure, okay.
Good action.
Yeah, so, and what I put together, again, this was thrown together fairly quickly. For discussion purposes only, I really don't want to go forward with anything tonight. But at least have a discussion and see where there's holes in these, you know, what's been provided and where we can beef those up, or we decide we just don't even want to deal with this and we can be done with it tonight. So, I mean, it's really up to you. I just don't want to move forward with anything. If that's okay, let's have just a discussion. But so I provided some options. Basically created some really minimal regulations that would require, you know, basically as a zoning certificate to operate as a short-term rental. So that's just comes to us in the planning department. They fill out the zoning certificate application. We pretty much give it to them as long as they meet any of the zoning standards. The second would be create more moderate regulations that provide both, and I've provided a couple of definitions as part of both of these suggestions, or all these suggestions, I guess. But the rest of it would be like, so the moderate regulations would be require a conditional use permit in residential zone. So any of the residential zones, we just require a conditional use permit. that takes it from just come to the planning office, get my zoning certificate, to now fill out an application and come to planning and zoning and hear from the neighbors, and then go to the board, hear from the neighbors, and the board makes a decision. So that's the more stringent. And then also we could create specific standards if there was standards that we wanted to put in there that were zoning standards, that were land use standards, and not like, safety standards and things that would be covered in building code if we had it. Because we don't have building codes, so we don't want to deal with that. And then third option, do not allow the residential zones. And then fourth option, do nothing. Or do not allow any of the short-term rentals in the residential zones, or do nothing. So those are the four that I kind of outlined. Like I said, I provided some definitions which they need to be honed. There's some duplicate information in the bed and breakfast one, and again, these were thrown together pretty quickly. And then we may want to add more definitions. So that's what I've got. I'll open, or you can run the discussion however
Well,
you'd like
David,
to.
first of all, good job on putting this together and providing this information back to us. Yeah, well done. Why don't we go around, us 5 commissioners, and each person can state where they sort of stand or what they might like to see. Not have to be these options, but it could be these options as well. We'll start with you, Barb.
Well, one thought that comes to me, because I live out on Wild Horse Ranch, is that covenants would take precedence over any other regulations or whatever, because we've had issues out here with, and it's against our covenants to have Airbnbs, bed and breakfast, those kinds of things. We've had people try to do that, and it's against our covenants. And so I'd like to see something that would give covenants precedence with whatever amendments, regulations, whatever we come up with.
Okay. Anything else?
I could make a comment.
Yeah, I'll take it. Go ahead.
So just for the, I don't know, edification of everybody. So covenants are one thing and zoning is another. So neither one of them really take precedence necessarily over each other, but covenants, they're a legal binding document. People that are within those have to follow those. They also have to follow zoning as well. So
We don't enforce.
but we don't deal with covenants, right? So I guess to ask if we can give them precedence, well, they already have their own authority, right? So we don't have to give them authority. You guys have authority to enforce your covenants, so. But I could be wrong, correct me, but I don't know.
Well, then, I can just follow that thought. Sure. Very briefly, I think we can't give them precedence. I don't think that the county could delegate its authority to a homeowners association, for example. Is that correct, Mr. Ayers?
No, I couldn't delegate it.
Okay.
Covenants are private contracts between those who are subject to them. Well, yeah, just those who are subject to them, which are basically people with sort of horizontal privity in terms of like estate. So it's usually passed down through deed or subdivision, but the county can't enforce covenants. Only the other people that are subject to them can. And that, I think David is correct that is really not in the realm of zoning. The only way zoning can be done in Wyoming is comprehensive zoning, which means standards apply to a zone.
So the closest we could come to what was envisioned here is the county could create, say, an overlay and require no short-term rentals within that overlay. I mean, that would be a way to bring that particular covenant into our regulatory framework. Is that right?
Yeah, that's essentially my understanding of Teton County. Well, but basically in the inverse. They have certain little overlay zones that allow them to exist so long as they were pre-existing a certain date.
Like
And then
1990.
it's just blanket prohibited in the rest of the county.
Craig, how about yourself? And you live out in Alaqua, is that right?
No, I live out in Antelope Ridge Loop.
Okay, well, in my mind, it's all together, but.
Oh,
my
okay,
mistake.
fair enough. Fair enough.
I realize it's different, but you live out there, so, yeah.
Yes.
So, well, where do you stand on this?
From previous life, living back in the Midwest, short-term rentals. There's been nice services. A lot of the time, short-term rentals turn into house house. People disrespect them. They don't have anything invested in staying there. And the people who do live there end up with the heartache of, it's not my place, I'm not mowing the grass, I'm not pulling the weeds, I'm not painting, I'm not doing anything. And short-term rentals usually create, at least in my opinion, heartache for the full-time owners of properties in the area. And I've seen very, very seldom that short-term rentals turn out to be good for the community. Again, this is my personal feeling, and it's also how I would vote on this. I don't think it's a good idea. I think there should be restrictions, not heavy restrictions.
Are there any short-term rentals out your way?
No.
All right,
Not any local.
Ralph?
So given the interest of the community and what we see from, people in Centennial that have a lot of short-term rentals, I think we should listen to our constituents and come up with at least something that will help protect those rural, smaller communities that are likely to have problems in town or, neighboring county areas near town. It probably is not a big deal because, we have a lot of rentals in town anyway. So people in, just outside of West Laramie probably wouldn't be as badly impacted by short-term rentals as would people in Centennial, for example. So I like the idea of putting some prohibition in some zoning categories. As I said before, I saw your, I must have missed it when I looked through the document, but make it conditional. Because we don't like to close the door and have no flexibility. That's been our approach to things throughout. So I think the second option sounds pretty good to me, and we can discuss further which exact categories. I mean, Dave may have gone a little lenient on approval, but maybe not. I mean, I haven't spent too much time on it.
Yeah, so I have spent some time on this, as you may be aware. So with your indulgence, I kind of broke my thoughts into a couple of places. One started with where are we now? I think that's useful for us to move forward from that particularly, and we have a couple of new commissioners. Yeah, and
Go right ahead, proceed.
and then
Where my
where to go from there? Just a quick thought again for our new members, ought to look at the November 12th, 2025 meeting and the packet with that. And if we do go forward, it sounds like they're setting up for doing that, it would be useful for Mr. Gertz to redistribute some of the things you've sent around before, where you looked at other counties and so forth. And then in that November meeting, we got an extensive document from some of the folks at Centennial. So just by way of reference, that would be handy. Okay, so to kind of codify the do nothing option for our purposes as well as for our new members. The spectrum of short-term rentals runs from anything of, we're renting out the spare room for the football weekend, and then through the VRBOs and the Airbnbs and 4 or 5 rooms in a conventional bed and breakfast with an on-site host. And maybe those go for 8 rooms. And then in my mind, that it kind of merges on into what we might even call a small motel if somebody decides to call their big old house a little bit of motel. So what we currently have, and certainly invite correction from staff, we only allow something that we call motels in commercial zones. And they're forbidden in all the other zones. We allow something we call bed and breakfasts. They are regulated by virtue of requiring a conditional use permit in all of the agricultural zoning, or all the residential zonings, not in agricultural or commercial or neighborhood business zones. Interestingly, that V-Bar operation, I don't know if it's considered a bed and breakfast, but it's in an ag area, so I'm assuming it enters the land use table as a guest ranch. Do you guys know anything about that operation?
It's been out there forever, so.
I mean, we think of it it advertises itself as a bed and breakfast,
Sure.
but I assume it probably is regulated in our regulations as a guest ranch in an ag zone. Just FYI. But the problem I have expressed before is neither bed and breakfast nor motel is defined clearly in the sense of distinguishing one for the other, or either one from these other short-term rentals. Things that are managed through Airbnb or VRBO, and you don't have to belong to one of those. Those aren't things, those are brokerage services. So my reaction is that we at least need, not the do nothing alternative, we at least need to bring some definition of what those various things are. Short-term rentals is defined in state statute for purposes of the lodging tax. So where I would turn to look for definitions of things would be if we have some established definitions out there, we don't have to adopt those, but interestingly, those are defined in terms of application of lodging taxes. Then I was looking around for where other jurisdictions might draw those lines. And just today, as I was talking before the meeting, I talked to the guys in the health department, and I talked to Mr. Gersh about the but if you are serving food to the public, then you are required to get licenses. And they have a definition in their rules and regulations of a bed and breakfast. And it's how many meals you serve and how many people and how often. It was kind of interesting. I didn't get all the details of that. I was just talking to that guy this afternoon. The other thing we heard about from folks in Centennial is the fire marshals that also apply themselves differently to what they consider bed and breakfasts versus motels. So again, I think there are places that we could look to tighten up our definitions. So as far as how we currently regulate short-term rentals in residential zones, short-term rental is not defined anywhere in our current zoning. Bed and breakfast is explicitly addressed as a conditional use without any definition. So what I'm wondering, this would be a question for staff, how does this interface with residential zoning one dwelling unit? So say a conventional bed and breakfast with 6 bedrooms that are regulated, is that, how is that compliant with residential or ranchette zoning?
So, I mean, by definition, no, we don't have a definition. Bed and breakfast is typically a dwelling unit that
One
is,
dwelling unit,
or
just one whole dwelling.
Yeah, one dwelling.
Not
one-
6.
Yes, one whole dwelling unit that is, basically renting rooms within that dwelling. So first we see it as a dwelling, and then the conditional use is if you have this dwelling, and it's usually a conversion to rooms for people to stay in on a temporary basis. then they would come in with a conditional or get a conditional use, I guess, before you do that. So it's kind of like the use of the dwelling is now allowed through a conditional use permit. So we still see it as a dwelling, but the use can be a bed and breakfast with that additional permit.
So there's a dwelling definition.
So the dwelling unit is defined as one or more rooms providing complete living facilities for a person, family, or equivalent group of persons, including kitchen facilities or equipment for cooking and provisions for same. So,
And including.
and including a room or multiple rooms for living, sleeping, bathing, and eating. Obviously that contemplates a family. But if they're providing those extra rooms for hire, then it becomes a bed and breakfast that is still considered to meet the zoning requirement of one dwelling unit.
Correct, because like each room, each unit doesn't have everything they need to use. There could be shared bathrooms, there's sharing the kitchen area or whatever. So it's just a room that, the one I stayed in, it was just a room. That's all it was. It was a room with a bed in it. You stayed, you could lock it, and then you went downstairs, and that was where all the amenities were, the breakfast that you.
And a small motel is not a dwelling unit because it has microwave in every room, or what's?
So a motel by definition is a motor hotel, which means it's a small hotel for motor vehicles to stay short term. Usually the room is accessed from the outside and not from the inside. Like obviously in a house, you go in one door and then all the rooms are in there, right? So a motel by definition is you have a door to your room and it doesn't have a kitchen typically. It's usually, you may have a microwave, but it doesn't have a full kitchen.
Yeah, microwave plus mini fridge, probably not equipment for cooking. Now, microwave, mini fridge, hot plate, maybe a dwelling.
Okay,
A motel is also
Right.
good.
And the number of
for commercial
units
real
is
estate.
different usually too, so.
Okay, I'm sorry, and I guess we all have a sense in our minds of the difference, but I guess I'm not hearing it in terms of, here's a building, it's got a hallway and there's bedrooms off that hallway and there's a common area where people get together and have breakfast. That could just easily describe a small motel as a conventional venue.
Motels typically don't have that. They don't have amenities. A hotel would have amenities like a restaurant, facilities, other facilities, pools, all those things. But a motel is typically, they have an office, then they have rooms, and there's not place to stay.
Every motel I've stayed in the last 20 years has a breakfast area, common area, and facilities for serving food.
But it's more a breakfast bar,
Right.
oatmeal bars, cereal, maybe some stuff. It's not a
Which-
walk-in to order a
Still,
breakfast.
Well, okay.
More than a house and more than a bed and
Well, right,
breakfast.
but I'm not bringing it up because we need to settle that right now, but my suggestion is that we could stand some definition of that other than
Absolutely.
how,
We could
how
put
somebody in
definitions
the
there.
planning office feels about it.
Well, sure, and I'll just say one more thing again. Hotels, motels clearly fall underneath the definition of commercial real estate as opposed to privately owned dwelling.
Well, but that's where this gets fuzzy, is people would say, that is a commercial endeavor. This guy's renting out 6 rooms.
There may be,
And this guy across the street.
I guess there could be, lots for gray zones, but again, if you're talking about a motel or hotel, you're talking about commercial real estate. And not a private dwelling.
On the nature of the structure, it's still residential dwelling.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I understand all that, but what I'm lobbying for here obviously is write that down in a way that it isn't. I go in and describe it to the planning staff and they go, that sounds kind of bed and breakfasty to me, or they say it sounds kind of motel-y to me. I mean, I'm thinking that we have so populated that spectrum from renting the back bedroom out to grandpa for the football game to a small motel that we need, because it matters. The motel is absolutely prohibited in any residential zone, but a dwelling unit, including an accessory dwelling unit, I could get pretty expansive in how much real estate I was inviting people to pay me to stay in for the evening.
I mean, and a motel's pretty much never looks like a single family home. They look like a big box with a bunch of things in it, right?
As a writing exercise, to define that, oh, looks like a house versus looks like a motel.
Well, right,
would be
and-
a real trick.
Again, and bed and breakfasts are usually the owner's there and they're your host, where a motel
Right.
most likely is not, unless it's like,
But
all those-
no, that gets at another critical part of this argument is one of the complaints about
right,
bed and breakfast versus other short-term rentals is that the owner is not there. So we find ourselves in a rather odd situation right now of requiring conditional use for a bed and breakfast, which we could define as requiring the owner on site. Some people have suggested that, and not regulating the other short-term rentals where the owner is not on site. And those across the boards are more objectionable. So I think we're backwards right now in our regulation with respect to other short-term rentals versus bed and breakfast. So again, it would be useful to draw those lines in a more consistent way. And if the bed and breakfast, if we wanted to ban short-term rentals except for bed and breakfasts, and then bed and breakfasts required owner occupancy, for example, that would seem to me to be congruent with the kinds of things that we're talking about. All right, so that's my pitch for let's, if we're all in agreement, let's work on definitions so that we know where those lines are drawn in a way that isn't, I know it when I see it. And as I had a discussion with Mr. Gertz the other day, he's constantly giving us the pitch for, I would like people to come in and say, here's what I want to do. And you would say, okay, the rule is 1,200 square feet, 1,250 is more than 1,300, you're out, you're in, rather than,
yeah, we like to know where the lines are.
we'd like to know where the lines are. Like a speed limit. We can say
Right.
the speed limit, don't drive too fast, but it works a lot better if we say, don't drive more than 65.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, then I ask myself, all right, are short-term rentals a relevant issue? And that speaks to the survey. And it depends on who you ask, where you are. There are those who will say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, which I think is totally inappropriate for a planning department. I mean, planning is all about anticipating issues. A far better cliche would be ounce prevention is worth a pound of cure. So I do think that there's enough concern that we should move forward. When I asked Mr. Gertz how many of these conditional use permits are out there, I think you were struggling to think of.
I found two in our
Two or
database.
three.
Yeah.
Interestingly, our friends from Centennial brought us a list of 28. So there's obviously some serious mismatches here in what's called what and who has a permit and so forth. Again, that might be improved by some clear lines, but quite a stark difference of opinion of how many are out there and whether people are not getting these conditional uses or not.
Wait just a second. May I ask a question? Those conditional uses for B and Bs?
For bed and
Yeah,
breakfast.
we're talking about short-term rentals in Centennial.
Yeah, so no, this is all kind of fuzzy.
That's good, but yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. But the other thing Mr. Gertz shared with me is that line about bed and breakfast requiring a conditional use permit has been in Albany County zoning for a very long time. Like you were guessing 25, 30 years.
Yeah, since the adoption of the zoning, I'm guessing, I haven't really looked, but I know that it was in there before we did the 2015 updates.
Which kind of surprised me that they'd been in there that long. Now, and that speaks to whether the ones that are there now have been grandfathered. There may not have been that many. I mean, bed and breakfasts are kind of a thing of the last, I'd say, 20, 30 years. So another way to get a handle on them, those who haven't come forward looking for conditional use permit as a bed and breakfast, is through the tax rolls, and they are all short-term rentals are required to pay lodging tax. So just as another avenue that perhaps we could explore would be to go through the tax people, and they would be able to tell us who all is at least stepping up to the plate and doing what they're supposed to. And I know that those who list through Airbnb pay the lodging tax. How many others there might be out there? How many of that 28? I don't know, but that would give us a better feel for what this universe is that we're talking about potentially regulating.
Just a second, back here.
Yeah, is your position that Airbnbs should have been getting conditional use permits as bed and breakfasts?
Not as bed
No,
and breakfast.
no,
Okay.
no. but my position is that what I'm hearing from our own research and my colleagues and the folks from Centennial is that they find non-bed and breakfast short-term rentals to be a larger problem than conventional bed and breakfasts, which is why I'm pointing out that what I see is the kind of backwards aspect of our regulation.
Okay, I understand that.
Okay,
What about the Department of Revenue?
I'm saying that from the lodging tax point of view, they don't recognize anything called B and Bs. They recognize short-term rentals, full stop, and have a definition of that.
Okay,
And that's
so what would we be using their
So-
records for?
so if we want a potentially workable definition of short-term rentals, and we wanted to know how many people we were applying that to, that's where it might be instructive to know how many are out there. Again, that's not critical to us, but I would think that the way of context, so are you regulating 2 people or 20 or 200? And that's available, that's public record if one was interested in exploring that. I think that is, that's what the county assessor tells me. So that was the point of the lodging tax. Now, so is this a problem? I think it should be pretty clear that it's not a problem now, but we know nationwide that short-term rentals have been problematic. As we discussed before, that is everything from Little Centennial to Manhattan Island. The reasons that people object to them, as our newest colleague pointed out, are that the transients have no investment in the neighborhood, noise and traffic and trash and so forth. They're setting up rental properties that could have been rented to be used for residents. People are buying properties for purposes of short-term rentals, whether they're on-site or not. Lack of an on-site or local supervisor, in competition with other lodging businesses that are subject to regulations. Now, all of those issues apply to short-term rentals in general, but even more to the others than to the conventional B&Bs. So again, I think we should extend whatever regulation we're doing to bed and breakfast, and certainly extend to the rest of the short-term rentals, if not more. Now, just to share a couple thoughts in my research that I've run across in responding to this, do they get a free pass, whereas they're more explicitly commercial partners do not, as we heard from the gentleman Centennial and discussion I had with Mr. Gerch. Health issues are regulated by the state health department, and they have their definitions indicate we're going to go of bed and breakfast. And anybody that serves food to the public is regulated. So yes, any short-term rental bed and breakfast, call it what you will, that serves food does have to put up with licensing and inspections through the state from a food safety. Interestingly, including ice machines. That was kind of a surprise to me. Makes sense if you think about it, but that's really going to throw that net quite wide. Then the other place where the state rolls in are fire inspections. And I'm not sure exactly where they draw lines, who has to have a license, who gets inspected every year. But my suspicion is it's not as dire as it was represented to us that the commercial, the small motel has to put up with so much more regulation than the short-term rental.
And the statutes for, like fire code, electrical code, that kind of inspections that explicitly stated residential short-term rentals are not
Oh, it does say, okay, so I didn't understand that. So,
considered commercial buildings for purposes of code.
so then do they offer us a definition of short-term rentals? Or do they adopt the lodging tax definition? That's again what I was kind of sifting around for some clear definitions that have stood the test of time statutorily. Again, that's not something we have to ignore right now, but that would be a place to look for that. So the conclusion of that, I think, is that short-term rentals are a legitimate issue and one that is appropriately addressed through zoning. That we, by requiring to get some kind of a license, that would be useful. one could replace bed and breakfast in our land use table with short-term rentals. Would be something that I would favor minimally, along with definition of short-term rentals in a manner that excludes the motels at the top. Other counties have waded into this. Teton County, which is a poor representative of Wyoming, as we all know. But when I find the Sublette and Park County, those are kind of just straight up Wyoming counties, regular folks, regular problems, have moved into the regulation short-term rental business, not through prohibitions like in Teton County, but through defining them for one, and either conditional use permits or permitting them in certain areas. and not
I
others.
think they're doing by certificates, not CUPs. And that is telling us that we can't do that.
No, wait a second, no, okay, back up, CUPs,
Conditional use permits.
they are doing it through conditional use permits. And you're suggesting we cannot do that? I mean, we're doing it right now with bed and breakfast.
Well, they're doing it on a permitted basis. Where,
He's saying it's like a yearly permit.
yeah,
Yeah,
and not a
Oh,
permanent,
oh,
like
I see.
conditional use, like we're talking about in that zoning resolution.
Okay. The distinction you're drawing is whether you regulate them at the outset through their zoning certificates versus a license you have to renew every year. Are we understanding?
yeah, and we can't license.
Okay,
We
yeah,
are allowed a zoning certificate,
okay.
which is to be issued based upon the plans. And then that lasts in perpetuity until it's abandoned.
And I don't know if these other counties are skirting that margin or not.
That's just my,
Well,
well,
not just starting there, they're going to different directions.
But those who are saying you need to get a conditional use permit to establish a bed and breakfast in this zone. That's, I think, the level that is accessible to us. And,
that's my legal advice.
okay, and I got no problem with that. Particularly in that we don't want to get too far down the road of requiring big inspectors and following up on that. So then, let me go back to planning staff here. We know that it's within our authority, get some nice definition put together to require conditional use permits for short-term rentals, which is where my mind is at, and I wouldn't distinguish bed and breakfast from any other short-term rentals. How far can we go into what we might call development standards? And the kinds of things that people talk about is that you would have, in order to get that conditional use permit, you would have to agree to, say, an on-site representative or a certain amount of parking, or how far into the kind of the physical, what's there can we go? And those wouldn't be licensing things that would require annual renewal, but just what I might call development standards, like we apply to subdivisions. Could we do that?
We could do parking, yeah, we could do landscaping, the on-site.
That's the kicker, landscape.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't know how we would.
Owner occupied is a term that you see in other counties. Is that something that we can
do.
do that?
The enforcement is a different story.
Well, let's set enforcement aside. I mean, I'm a believer in if you set up the rules, then people who follow the rules will follow them, and then you're always gonna have people who will refuse to follow them, and they'll be subject to enforcement. But if the rule itself is legal and appropriate, the fact that you can't rigorously enforce it every day is not a fatal flaw in my mind.
I think that makes it a bad rule.
That it's enforceable.
That, yeah, if it's not enforceable, then what's the point of having it?
But enforcement's subject to budgets and
No, that's subject to
and a
evidence.
whole lot of other things.
I mean, how is the county going to prove that? Are we gonna have someone monitoring the whereabouts of?
We have to go through 2 years of litigation to.
But isn't that true of any of our development standards? If we put the subdivision in and we require the crown on the road to be XYZ and that crown deteriorates,
Yeah, that's immediately observable in one instance.
okay, well, maybe that's the discussion. I guess I'm trying to get some feedback on how many development standards can you legally set up in the first place?
Well, generally, development standards are for development. not
Not a land
not
use.
conditions upon a certain aspect of a usage. Those are conditions, which are part of a conditional use,
Right.
as opposed to like development standards or what is the building, how many parking spaces, because it's concerned with the physical development.
But where this discussion is going is towards conditional uses, is what I'm hearing. So,
Right, so then
How
just
many
call
conditions
them conditions on a use, not development standards.
so, okay, yeah, I don't mean to get like, stuck in the taxonomy, but all right, how far can one go with conditions of the conditional use permit in things like you have to provide trash pickup, you've got to provide parking.
Yeah, you can absolutely say you have to have trash pickup.
I mean, like with our,
We have that.
yeah,
Other
I mean,
places.
we've required that, folks to like, what's your parking plan? You have to provide a plan. This is what you're gonna do. What's your, like, I guess in subdivision regulations, we require like, what is your plan to dispose of trash?
Okay.
I mean, maybe that's something that you could add to zoning, is that, I mean, but it'd all be in plan form, right?
No, we have that. Well,
And then-
we're gonna have that soon as part of the campground and mobile.
Right. So, I mean, those types of things I think we can do,
Yeah,
and we can enforce, right?
Mhm.
I mean,
So,
all of those seem to be exposed to the same issue of, well, can you enforce it? You shouldn't apply it. You shouldn't have it in there if you can't enforce it. I mean, all of those things require somebody paying attention
Right.
and enforcing it if it's enforceable.
right, and the owner thing, it's like, I guess whatever Matt says, if we can do that or not, owner occupied, I just think that's a
No,
bad thing if we went that way, because like short-term rentals in this county don't have owner occupied, and why does that need to be a thing? Why does?
I'll tell you why, because your survey had more respondents from other zip codes than 82072. So what you're seeing is people buying property in Albany County for commercial purposes, for short-term rentals. So that tells me there are a lot of outside, involvement in this.
So we don't want to have people from outside the community
No,
having
do.
businesses,
absolutely,
or?
no, what I'm saying
so
is.
that's our stated purpose, is to prevent certain people from owning it. That is highly problematic.
That's not what I meant. What I meant is that a lot of properties are being purchased by people who don't live here and don't take care of them and leave the problem to the neighbors. If we make
can't
everything a
regulate
priori
ownership.
conditional. If we make everything a priori conditional use, then we can have a standing to say to them, hey guys, you're not following the conditional use. Your neighbors are complaining. If we don't have any regulations, they don't care.
Okay, well, now, are you about wrapped up?
Oh, yeah, so my wrap up of all that is my recommendation going forward would be, one, we get rid of bed and breakfast in our land use table, we make short-term rentals. We provide definitions of short-term rentals versus motels, and we establish what we think are appropriate conditions for those conditional uses. That's what I would like to see. So
Okay.
that's where I am, and obviously that's a long way from that concept implementation, but that's where I'd like to see this
No,
go.
that's fine, thank you. And I'll finish the circle by saying I favor adding definitions, absolutely. And looking at this point in time, perhaps light regulation. And yeah. One thing I'll say about what you're saying is, who's the lady that we saw from Centil, who is the.
Michelle Tilley?
Yeah, Michelle Tilley. I took a look at the ownership list they provided, and about, as I recall, 3/4 of the short-term rentals were either owned by people living in Centennial, Laramie, Cheyenne, Fort Collins. So yes, they weren't all obviously in Centennial, but they weren't amorphous people living in, California, Florida, or wherever. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just want to say that.
Good.
So with that,
I'm
go
glad,
ahead.
I'm glad. We don't have the zip codes for the 21 respondents that came via the survey. My point is, I am completely in agreement with Meredith. We need definitions and we need to decide what we require under conditional use. And also then decide what zoning should, what categories of zones we should apply that to. Because it may not be necessary to do it in one chat or in agricultural, but maybe rural residential, when you have lots of 1 acre, maybe we need to worry about that. So look at the table you created.
Yeah.
And apply that accordingly. That's what I have.
I would note that most of the properties that are in like the North Fork area are ranchette. So they are, if we just allowed them there, that's not helping them, I guess, but yeah, no, we definitely need to look at those things and discuss it.
Yeah.
Barb, I'll come back to you. Is there anything else you'd like to add on this?
No, I agree with the most recent discussion. I agree that we should have definitions and some parameters.
Craig?
I agree. We need to have a specific set of parameters, rules, however you want to word it, but
Yeah.
otherwise, nobody's gonna get anything done and people are gonna do whatever they damn well please. And that's gonna be a problem for the.
Okay, David, so have we given you some feedback that you're happy with, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
We can continue to discuss this. I'm not gonna cut this off right now if you all.
For the
have whatever
parameters,
you wanna
we'll go on
say.
definitions.
One more
and-
question for staff.
Oh, go ahead.
I guess what are the parameters?
Why prohibited in industrial zones?
Why prohibit it?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I mean, typically we don't have a house or I don't know, I guess there could be, because there's conditional uses. Yeah, we can, I mean, all this is up for discussion.
Okay, well, I just wondered if there was a reason behind your suggestion that we prohibit them.
Typically, you don't want
I'm
housing.
not sure, maybe I looked at what the bed and breakfast one said. I don't know why it's like that.
It makes sense that you wouldn't want residential in an industrial zone, just because of the way things are set up.
Yeah, we do allow a dwelling in commercial zones with a conditional use permit, so it is allowed, so if there is a house there and they wanna, and honestly, commercial is the only place to put multifamily in our. Yeah, I'm not saying industrial, I'm saying commercial allows for multifamily, which you can rent out apartments too, but industrial, yes, we probably shouldn't have that stuff in
No,
industrial.
I see a lot of problems there.
Then to just get more question of some of the words in.
Sure.
Mr. Gear's memo, and I asked you this earlier, bed and breakfast, reading the draft definition of bed and breakfast. Bed and breakfast is a private owner occupied dwelling. That would seem to run counter to what we were just talking here. Is there some reason that, do you think we would want to define it
As private,
either as private, I'm not sure what that means, or and as owner occupied?
I mean, if it's a bed and breakfast, yes, if it's a short-term rental, I don't think that's necessary.
Okay, so can you explain why does a bed and breakfast need to be owner occupied?
Well, bed and breakfast is different than obviously short-term rental. Short-term rental is somebody, I mean, the owner is not gonna be there and occupy it while somebody's living there for a few days or whatever. But bed and breakfast is, the owner is there, traditionally, this is how it's done. They cook the breakfast or whatever. They're there to like oversee things. They're there to show people the rooms and all of those things, to clean, do all that stuff. That's just kind of what a bed and breakfast is. Short-term rental is just, here's your house, you stay there for a few days and you leave and make sure you clean it and you pay your deposit or whatever.
Do we care? Maybe that's where my question.
Do we care?
Yeah, why would we bother to include anything about owner in our regulations?
I thought,
And maybe
I don't know. I mean, like, honestly, like, I'm just throwing
wasn't
these
the
definitions out
general
there for discussion.
proposition for is to be regulated based on whether the owner is present or not?
that's where we are now, I guess, kind of.
That's what I've been, yeah, so okay, I think like before we can even get to, I mean, where planning department and then probably myself can draft something, I mean, we need, like, what is it that you guys want to do? I think that might have to come before the proposed language because this is moving wildly.
Is there consensus that we don't want to distinguish bed and breakfast from other short-term rentals? That's my suggestion.
Yes, that's exactly my question.
Yes.
It's like, if we want to say they're
Yeah.
bed and breakfast,
Then
they're the
the
same, then yeah,
okay.
we just can go
I
that route.
say they're the same,
Okay.
short-term rental.
Yeah, and to me, they're not. To me, they're clearly different.
So you would like to see us move forward with a discrete definition?
I think it's absolutely fine to do that. Doesn't hurt. We can always remove it later if we decide we
Well,
want to.
okay.
No, but to me, they're absolutely different. Short-term rental and bed and breakfast are, if you go over to Europe and want to stay in the B&B, you know, you're gonna get one thing, and if you're in a short-term rental, there's not gonna be anyone there, there's not gonna be any food there, you're gonna get a room or maybe a whole house, quite different.
Granted, conceptually, these kind of archetypes are different. The question here is it worth our time, the staff's time, Mr. Eric's question, in trying to define that difference? Because you're going to regulate them differently?
Well, we can have a definition. I don't think it costs us at all to have it there.
Well, except that something like owner occupied is arguably illegal.
I mean, what I would say is like,
No, you can classify it. Wait, what do you mean? That is,
Can we regulate something differently, whether it's owner occupied or not? Or are we creating definitions with no legal distinction?
no, you can't. I'm saying that if the entire goal though of like making that distinction is to exclude certain people from ownership, that's where you're running into trouble. Like if the goal is that you
Like if you're-
want,
somebody to live
If
in
you
Albany
want-
County.
if you want no
someone
one
who's
that-
yeah.
like doesn't live in a community to own property in that community. Goals made in furtherance of that are illegal. Because property is freely alienable. And there's no inherent requirement. It is. Freely alienable, and there is no provision which the county could create under its zoning regulations, which would be for the purpose of dictating who owns that property.
I mean,
Can I interject? I've stayed in bed and breakfasts that the person who took care of the place didn't own it. They were a hired hand and they
Yeah,
cooked the
sure.
breakfast.
sure.
So I don't think we need to worry about ownership and all that stuff. All I say is that if it is a short-term rental, whether they give you food or not, it's a short-term rental. And there are clear definitions of what that is. We can, get them from other places, other counties, and just go with that. I mean, even if they're in our mind different, they're not really different.
Yeah, as a practical matter, it doesn't matter if we only have two in the whole county. So.
Well, no, we have a lot more than that. There's two permitted in the county. There's a difference.
Well, I'm glad you said that. I said correctly.
And some of them have existed prior to regulations.
I tell you what, though, why don't we leave it here, because this is just a discussion. We'll obviously come back to this, we can discuss it as much as we want to in depth.
Okay, thank you.
And you'll soon have your opportunity to learn.
No, I think we bared the thing out.
All right, very good then.
Brought our new colleagues kind of into the discussion.
Yeah,
Sorry, I thought I had that one. I was like,
now.
we're done.
We don't go.
So you know my opinion on bed and breakfast, I think they're different, but bottom line, if we're gonna put two different things in the land use table and they're exactly the same, going across conditional, then we need one definition.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I'm
fine.
fine with that. Let's
Yeah,
not
makes
make it more
sense.
complicated.
Sure.
So, yeah.
All right, so we're okay with this, we'll move on. All right, in that case, we will to zoning resolution amendments, outdoor lighting. And I don't know why you stayed this long, but thank you.
I was one of the ones that responded to that particular
Oh, very
survey.
good then.
So I was interested.
We had Mr.
Thank you. Well, good luck to you.
Yeah, well, I guess he's not. Mr. Cole was probably interested in short term.
Yeah.
Should have asked how many members.
All right, outdoor lighting.
All right, so. Things I could say, but I shouldn't. So lighting, lighting has came up as, I don't know, we have complaints. We have probably 2 or 3 complaints a year. Really, we don't have a ton of complaints about lighting. However, we have had few complaints. We usually have certain people call us every year around Christmas because the Christmas lights are too bright and they're on too long. So we get that phone call and yeah, just those types of things. Anyways, long story short is we have had some complaints, and it is really difficult to enforce our regulations the way they're written. Currently, we require two standards basically to mitigate light trespass. So the first is we require shielding of light fixtures, which we have no definition of shielding, what that means anywhere. And then the second one is a maximum allowable brightness of 1/4 foot candles property line, which we have a candle meter, and we've used that, and apparently you can put it under a street light and it still doesn't break that threshold. So either the machine's not working, we don't know how to use it, or anyways, so it makes it very difficult when we have people complain about lighting. So what is being proposed is just a set of standards to make things more clear and enforceable. And it would basically be to focus on the shielding aspect of lighting. If you look through the proposed regulations, I think we added some information or added some to the definitions. Then we got rid of the standard for the 1/4 foot candle or whatever it is, 10 foot. I don't know what I have here, but anyways, we got rid of that and we just focus on the shielding. The light trespass mitigation would be required of shielding for full cutoff. We kind of define what full cutoff is considered. Basically, the tops and the sides are all opaque. No light can go out the sides or the top. And yeah, that's basically the standard of this. That's how we changed it. And that's something that we can see. I mean, well, if it's like from the road and we can see that has that shielding, we can tell that it's fine. And or if not, then we can say, well, you need to do that. The kicker is everything that's out there today is will be non-conforming when this is adopted. So we couldn't do anything for anything previous to that. But if they wanted to change it, they could go forward. Or they would have to, so if they wanted to change out their lighting, then they would have to comply, which is all difficult still, but at least we can look at it and say, yes, it is, or no, it doesn't meet these standards. And then I think I did add a exemption for motion detector lighting. Just that's kind of a safety type thing. As long as it goes off after 5 minutes after motion, I think we'd be fine with that too. But so that's kind of what I'm putting together. This is for discussion. I'm not sure if this is legal yet because I don't think Matt's looked at it, but this is our idea. So,
Craig, do you have any questions?
No.
Go ahead, Ralph.
Okay, I have a couple of things. The light fixture definition, number 3. You say including the bulb and any housing, shielding, or mounting components. Many new age lighting devices, fixtures don't have bulbs. So
we should reword that then.
just use a word that, now people are using.
Okay.
So it will be more, include bulbs, but not just limited to bulbs.
The illumination source.
Illumination source. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Then I have, by the way, I really like this, even for wildlife, because a lot of birds migrate at night. And if the light is facing down, it doesn't affect the migration. So this is great. I'm happy with it. I should have started with this. But one thing I have that actually is not part of the changes that you made in the variances. So H1A, maybe someone can read it for me, because when I tried to read it for myself, I got confused with so many light fixtures in those sentences. Anyway, if anybody can read that, just because I couldn't figure out what it says.
H1A.
H1A.
Okay.
I think the part that confused me was that says which circumstances or conditions are peculiar to such land building or outdoor light fixtures and do not generally apply. So I mean,
To those in the neighborhood.
Hmm?
So it's saying that there are peculiar circumstances or conditions to the specific locality, which are not present in the surrounding area. It's
Can you
just,
say that instead of the current wording? Because I,
well, no, because this is defining what exactly we're talking about. It's not just the locality, it's the land, buildings, or the fixtures themselves.
you have in one sentence, outdoor light fixtures 3 times. And so, I mean, I read it 3 times and I couldn't figure out what are the special circumstances?
Well, I don't know. They have
I
to
don't
prove that.
Well, one quite,
This is existing language we're looking at.
Yeah, I know.
But we can look at the whole thing.
I mean, I don't think that there should be specific variances.
Boring.
And I don't think that there should be a purpose statement.
Where it says the lights should be pointed downward and not up.
We know that.
What about people who fly their American flag 24/7?
That's an exemption.
There's
an exemption.
Yeah. That is one of the, yeah. Okay, the light exemption.
How is there, where's there an exemption?
G5.
We'll get to that one.
Well, I admit it's a tough thing to read, but I think it's fine the way it is.
I just don't understand what it says.
Yeah, and it's even tough when everyone's talking to try to read it. Well, I think it's okay.
I'm not sure what the special circumstances would be either.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I just don't understand the sentence. If we
terms of
can make it
clause, it seems
simpler.
Just a variance for a special circumstance that has yet to be defined, I guess. We don't handle variance.
Maybe it's a bed and breakfast and it needs some special.
If you go there, maybe you should.
Current number 2.
Wait, I'm not done.
Oh, you're not done, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I had another one.
She did her homework, guys. Come on.
Hey, I missed the conditional use table they made because it was at the bottom, but I did go through all of this. So there was something about lighting for advertisement or entertainment. Why only that?
Oh, yeah, that's actually dramatic.
President, or was that?
Yeah, First Amendment.
Yeah, I'll find it.
Was that the one about, oh yeah, D1, lasers,
Yeah, something,
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Prohibited.
D prohibitions,
Yeah,
laser
D1.
source lights or similar high intensity
Research lights.
light used
I would
for
I would strike outdoor advertising.
outdoor advertising so I can put
Oh,
a
so
laser
you use
source
searchlights.
in my house
You
if
just-
I'm not
just say
using it
lights.
for advertising. I mean, is that it? Anyway,
Say that again.
it's not anything you looked at recently, but it's something that I think we should, given that we're changing the document, take a look at.
Would you repeat that, please?
So you have prohibitions
Uh-huh.
on laser source lights or similar high intensity light used for outdoor advertising or entertainment.
Yes.
So if I want to put a laser light that will make a huge display just for me, for fun, it's not entertainment or advertising,
Yeah,
I can do that?
yeah, and we would probably,
So
so you can regulate commercial speech, you know, like more strictly. but it gets you into like a hybridized, it gets you into a higher level of like scrutiny under constitutional processes. And there's really not like a compelling enough differentiation between those two uses. So I think,
Fair enough.
my suggestion would just be get rid of for advertising or entertainment.
That's what
in
I
both
would,
of those.
that's what I would.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
And
I
then
wonder- I wonder though, because, yeah, you know, if you're gonna put it's your birthday or your grandkid's birthday or whatever, and you've got a laser display in the front yard to make everything great, you're not gonna do that more than one night, maybe two.
We do have a time limit.
Right,
for the-
but
yeah.
a business that's, you know, a bar or something along those lines are gonna have bright lights and maybe they've got lasers and maybe they're on every night till 2 a.m. You know, I think there's gotta be some reasonable limitations if they're close enough that it's to a home or residential area where it is disturbing. And I'm not really good on the migration of birds, but, you know, we flash lasers on them, you know. If people are doing a laser display and there are birds flying over, that everybody's gonna see that. Or they're going to see it, I should say. I think there's gotta be some kind of reasonable, you know, with the entertainment or advertising, you can tell someone, you can't do that until 2 o'clock every morning because your lights are shining in 3 different houses' windows, and it is disturbing. I mean, I think that would be the difference between private use and advertising use. Advertising is probably gonna be every day of the week, 4 months at a time. Your birthday party for your grandchildren or your parents, whatever your celebration is probably gonna be a one-night thing. And again, free speech for somebody celebrating a birthday is different from somebody, you know, we got great drink specials, come on in and have a good time. It's two different things, at least in my opinion.
well, I think you'd be, because there's a temporary lighting exemption.
Mhm.
So if you just say that across the board, well, that, yeah, it would mean that,
Maybe they're prohibited.
well, no,
Honestly, if they did it for 1 or 2 nights,
yeah, then it's just temporary.
we're not gonna be doing anything about it, so.
Right.
We might get a complaint, but by the
Might
time
hear
we get
about
up
it,
there,
though.
they'll be not doing it anymore.
Somebody will always complain about anything. No, I was more of the, I was supporting that with,
Sure.
you know, it's your birthday party or your kids, or you're celebrating it's a wedding, whatever. It's a one-time, one-night thing versus where you're regulating a business that is going, or an event that's gonna be doing it every night for weeks or months at a time.
We actually have a pretty lenient length of time of 30 days. So I think we're pretty lenient on all this. I think just removing the advertising and whatever will solve the problem in
Yeah.
entertainment. And that means that, you know, if you do want to have a party for your wedding or whatever, then you fall under the temporary
Right.
category, and so that should be taken care of. And just as an FYI, at the World Trade Center, memorial site, they have laser displays all the time.
Right.
Except when bird migration people who monitor the migration say, we're gonna have a huge migration, they turn them off. So just as an FYI.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Right. Yeah, I guess I can start right there. What is just regular nuisance, regulation have to say about this? I mean, how much of this is just covered? Don't we have just blanket? You can't be,
So at common law, light trespass is usually not nuisance. Because it's not it's not enough to constitute physical invasion. It is, yeah, but
so that's why it's appropriate to have lighting discreetly.
Yeah, and actually, I
as
don't
opposed
know.
to general nuisance.
because like, I mean, essentially what our nuisance regulations, which are in the zoning resolution, are to cover, those are I mean, essentially, those are rising to the level of like public nuisances. Like, this is not just causing a harm to your one neighbor, but this is causing harm to, like, you know, an indeterminate number of members of the public.
Okay.
Which is why a lot of it is like, you know, improper disposal of waste, things that, you know, may
Have a broad.
encourage like vermin or
Okay.
disease carrying critters.
Okay.
So this is definitely getting a little more into the world of private nuisance.
Okay. No, I was just assuming that what the distinction was. Speaking to the language here, why do we care the source of the light? And I'm looking at the thing we were just talking about in prohibitions. If a laser light source doesn't trespass on the neighbors, do we care?
Yeah, it could be redundant.
I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
the source of light would not seem to be a relevant part of the regulation.
If it's already shielded.
Yeah, if it's shielded. So I guess, I mean, again, we're not gonna change it right now, but I would invite you to consider whether we need prohibitions, given that we have been
But
careful
then
about
we
discussing
also-
what trespass amounts to.
I mean, we allow illuminated signs,
Put it down.
but it has to be pointed down. Does it?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, because yeah, we never. Gotcha. Okay, sorry.
Gets a little weird if I have a searchlight, it's on my house. The house you can see from 30 miles away because it's got a searchlight on it. Well, it isn't, the house isn't the light fixture. I don't know how you handle that. That would, in general, I would just think that we handle trespass as trespass. Then as I'm reading down through it, we have a thing under F about low pressure sodium. I just suggest that may be out of date. You might just
Yeah.
check on that. I'm guessing that's probably a leftover from some previous
From
times.
1975.
Yeah,
Maybe,
I think we talked to somebody about it at one point. They're like, what?
you know,
Like an electrician or something, and it's not a, I don't know. Yeah, I think most people regulate by lumens if they're gonna do
yeah,
the regulation of the brightness.
Well-
Or the fixture or the light bulb itself, it's like it can't be more than this many lumens or whatever, but.
They do it by, like, it's the light candle per foot, because it has to have a function of distance. To like really, because like the brightness varies at what point you're measuring it from like the source, so there has to be a.
but that was the old standard of at the property line. I mean, that
Right.
wasn't an incoherent standard. You're just.
Was it not?
Wasn't it? It was X lumens at the property line.
Yeah, 1/4 candle lumen.
I thought-
or candle powered property line.
I thought it was like where you put like a candle like per foot, and then you still say at a certain distance. I remember it from the signs.
Yeah, just to correct, my staff report said 1/4 foot, it's actually 1/10 of a foot,
Oh,
10th of a candle foot, whatever. So,
Do we even
That was all.
measure?
do we what?
Is this really a measurement we use?
It's a real measurement, yeah, you can get candle foot meters, we have one.
That's how.
I mean,
in
don't
like
we have
any
more
municipal-
modern ways of measuring light?
Yeah,
That really does seem to me like that kind of goes to what we want to do here is to say you aren't allowed to project light beyond some intensity on your neighbor.
and that comes in the enforcement horribleness, because we don't know, our meter, I don't know if it works, I don't know if we know how to make it work. We don't have any technical expertise in, doing that. I don't know if.
That's how it's.
If you have to measure ambient light before you do that, like,
When we were looking at
if it's like sound, you have to do a whole study on it, like.
when we were looking at the sign standards, I mean, that was how every single like city government defined it.
Was what?
The candlelight per meter or foot.
Okay.
I
The
think we
lumen
used-
standards actually, where Park City is in Utah, their county, they do it by the lumens of the light bulb or whatever. but they have like a different intensity or different, you can have 1,000 lumens if it's this high off the ground. If it's this high off the ground, it's 2,000 lumens or something like that or whatever. So they do it by like how high the fixture is. But I don't know. Yeah. Well, if we want to do something like that, I'm gonna have to do some more research.
Your suggestion here would be you'd control all that by shielding.
Yes, and that's easy to enforce.
Yeah.
Is it shielded or is it not?
Is it shielded or not?
But then, I mean, is it gonna, if it's a bright enough light, is that still gonna be enough to, even if it's pointed like directly downward, if it's high enough and.
That would depend on the environment. I mean, in a grassy yard, you have a 5,000 candle power bulb and a fixture 6 feet off the ground. If it's directed right down, you are probably 25, 30 feet away. It's not going to be nearly as blinding unless you're staring at it, but it's not going to reflect. You know, that's, I think, why the foot candles and lumens start getting confusing. It's how much light is actually reflected onto the complainant or the neighbor. And again, if you've got a porch light that's a can light pointing down, you could put a 250 lumen bulb or a 500 lumen bulb, but it's only shining in this little spot on your wood porch that doesn't reflect or do anything anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in theory, it's like if it's shielded, like if you're in a house next door and your window's here and the shielding's right here, it's not gonna be directly in your eyes, right? Or right into your, there will be, you'll still see light, but it's just not the bright.
It's not the
you know,
trespass.
We
the
use,
trespass,
we
yeah.
use nits in the sign regulations. With a nit being equals 1 candela, which is a foot candle per square meter.
I mean, I guess we could do this. We could see. if
I don't
we can find a
know, I
neat meter.
mean, then maybe it's like, well, then do we need to get rid of that too?
Is this something worth investing time, resource, money in? Do we have a lot of complaints on this? We've got a standard in place. Do we want to invest your department's time and people going out if there's not an issue with the public on this?
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that.
I probably should have directed it to our lawyer, but I'm just looking at it from a.
If you say that you guys don't wanna deal with it, and we just wanna get rid of lighting regulations, we will do that, that's fine, so.
No,
But that's not,
well, I think the suggestion was we leave this
You can-
alone and not get rid of it, right?
Yeah,
David, have there been complaints from members of the public about lighting?
Yes,
It's
there
been
has.
instances recently,
yes,
so
yeah,
there have.
so.
okay.
Bernie, anything else?
Well, yeah, here's one that I suspect I'll have concurrence from Mr. Ayers on. Whether I'm illuminating an American flag or a Nazi flag shouldn't make any difference.
Well, well, yeah,
The American flag is covered under.
No comment on that
They
one.
used to teach us in
Usually
grade
the
school.
middle too.
which is not law.
What do we do for signs on that?
We
On
made
the-
them content neutral.
on the
which is the
flags.
Standard.
We made them content
Constitutional.
neutral.
Right.
So,
It's not just the American flag, it's a Wyoming flag.
yeah, I would make it flags.
Yeah.
I think you have to.
And then customary agricultural practices that, customary agricultural practices, do you want to leave that in?
I don't know.
Because wouldn't a calving operation by definition be less than 30 days?
Sure.
Well, I'm
I
just,
mean, we could take it out, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
Anything else for, okay, no, then just my general approach to these would be make it as, it isn't specific to a type of illumination, it isn't specific to what it is you're illuminating. You make it as simple and generic as possible. Okay,
How about you, Barb?
I'm fine with it the way it is. I don't want
Alright.
to regulate it. Don't want to regulate it too much.
Want to regulate it at all, but that's
Yeah, well, and I'm fine with this also. I think the general idea, at least with shielding, is good. And that is easy. And that takes care of at least most of the problems. So what do you want from us at this point?
I have one question.
Yes.
So there is a date here. Do we want to leave that date? Existing non-conforming light fixture may be continued until the light fixture is replaced or until September 2nd, 2010?
Yeah, we can't do that.
Huh?
We can't do that under our non-conforming statute. So that is you can do, what is the word? In other states, zoning authorities can say all non-conforming uses have to be made conforming by this period in the future. We can't do that in Wyoming.
So that needs to go out?
Yeah.
Deleted.
That's under the university authority.
And that's also with the low pressure sodium lights, so
Yeah.
should we just strike all of that?
So back to my question.
Do we need to talk to the university?
I think these might need some work.
All right, so y'all got enough from us on this?
I think we've got, yeah, got your thoughts,
All right,
that we can look at this and hack out what needs to be taken out.
Yeah.
and-
in that case, let's move on to information technology facility standards. Item 11.
All right, so. So there's an ever-growing demand for large data centers in our society, apparently, because we have all these data needs with AI and everything. I don't know what they store everything.
Talk about
Huh?
Talk about Cheyenne.
Oh, they're getting a data center?
Well, we're the biggest one in the country.
Yeah, so they're getting, I don't know a whole lot about it. So
Oh.
do you want to say?
Yeah, I guess the county commissioners in Laramie County, just issued whatever permits, I guess were needed for what is planned to be the largest, data center, like AI data center in the country. And I mean, it's gonna have, I guess, like as planned, its own, like,
Oh,
power plant and, like recycled cooling system, which
recycled water.
Millions of gallons of water that have to go into these things.
Of gallons. of
Yeah.
water.
Yes.
Yeah,
And the estimates are that the data center will require the energy production of 10 nuclear power plants.
I thought they were planning on natural gas, was that not?
Yeah, so, but the natural gas that they are planning will not be enough. And therefore, they have asked Albany County to build another one of those power plants, natural gas, which also will not be enough. They did not ask Albany County because they knew would say no. But there is one huge one going right on our western line border.
The WAPA? Oh,
Hmm?
no.
I don't know more than that, but
I did not
the
hear.
claim was, even with these power plants, they will not have enough energy to power the center.
They'll be, the data centers are supposed to use more power than the current state of Wyoming uses now.
Yes.
And
In its
I
entirety?
used to work for the power, I worked for
Oh.
Rocky Mountain Power in the power industry, and there is a finite limit. There's a cross-country distribution line set up from east to west boundaries of Wyoming that allow a lot of power transmission, but there is still limited generation. They're talking about the Natrium plant in Kemmer. That's a 2030 before they even get the chance to fire it up. The last thing I read, and again, I keep in touch with the people over in that area. I'm not sure where we're gonna get all the power from. I know during the day they want to put in some massive solar fields. that's great, and I've got solar at my house, it's a great thing, I don't pay electric bills.
Me neither.
But today and the other day that it was nice and cloudy, I made a whopping 3 kilowatts of power. So on a cloudy day, they're gonna have a square mile of solar cells that does not a whole lot more than a 250 watt generator you buy at Walmart.
Yeah.
So I think there's gonna be some issues. This is not gonna be a smooth transition.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's let David continue.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay,
Thank you, I'm sorry.
so, yeah, no.
That's all right.
So we've talked about like, okay, the data centers, they use a lot of power, use a lot of water for cooling. And let's get to the problem. Our regulations allow these somebody comes into my office, they have commercial property today or industrial property today, they get a zoning certificate. They get a permit in 2 weeks without any standards. So there's a problem, you know. I don't think that there's a data center imminent for our county, but it would be nice to, I guess, so what I'm proposing is a 2-step process. One, let's get it on the books and make sure that they're conditional uses in commercial or industrial or just one of those zones or whatever we want to do. And then 2, we can do some more research and create some standards for these things. But that's a bigger project. I'm going to a conference in Denver. That's actually going in a few weeks. They actually have a session on data centers. So hopefully we'll be able to bring back some information on what people are doing to regulate these things. But that's kind of where I'm at, and what I'm hoping to do is to get something on the books quickly and then move to, potentially providing some better sideboards on what needs to happen for these. So
Well, now that we've just told the whole world that you can come to Albany County and get it prepared in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We probably need to do something. Have you received any direction from the county commissioners?
I have not.
Okay. Well, let's just have some free discussion now for whatever you guys want to talk about then. In no particular order.
What do you mean by get something on the books? You want
Well,
Just requiring.
Make it a conditional
make it a conditional
commercial
use.
So you're gonna define that thing first.
And there's a definition in there too, yeah, that we can look at.
Well, my reaction, Mr. Chair, is it's an industrial facility. And any industrial facility is going to have associated issues with power and water and everything else. So I'm being consistent here. I don't know that we care what goes on inside the box. Now, if we want to have some special standards for industrial facilities that use more than X amount of water or use X amount of power, that would seem to be appropriate. Whether what they're doing is processing data or slaughtering hogs or whatever, I don't think that should matter. So that's where I would come at this. I don't think there's nothing special about the fact that they're processing data inside their box.
No, I don't care it's the impacts is what we're trying to
Okay, but
address.
then let's define it in terms of the impacts, not the activities.
Well,
And that would be if there is a activity that requires over this much power or over this much water, then that's something that you want to, whatever, the conditions to or eliminate. But just because it happens to be a data processing center, I don't see why that's relevant.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I will say this is order of magnitude different in terms of the things we're talking about.
Some of them are. I mean, I could have a data center that has 4 megabytes of.
And I'm not disagreeing with.
And this is not-
A data center, you're right, any business that's gonna come in and say, we're gonna need a billion gallons of water for cooling this year.
We're not regulating data centers. We're regulating information technology facility. That's the actual term, and it has a definition to go with it. I understand what you're saying, but we could say that for about, 75% of the uses that are in our table. This is typically how you do it. You find a general enough term, which is information technology center, that includes data centers, and it could be other computing centers that are going to use these types of, the large facilities. I don't see there's any problem with using this. And this is what's done throughout the country. It's not like we're making up anything here, so.
Well, the problem would be, we're just drawing lines. If another facility came in that used the same amount of water and power, that wasn't a information processing facility, they wouldn't have to get a conditional use permit? That's my problem.
Depends on what it is and where it falls in the
Why does
the land
it
use
depend
table.
on where it is? Why does that depend on what it is?
That's how we regulate the zoning.
Well, I don't think so.
Hi, can I say something? Can I
Go
say
ahead, Barb.
something?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should be proactive rather than end up being reactive down the road. I like this proposal. It may need a little bit more work and definition, but I agree with the planning director.
Thank you for that.
I don't disagree with your premise. I don't disagree. I'm just pointing out that this is how it's done throughout the country. We have uses in a land use table. If you could give me some more information, I don't know how to measure like water, like how much water you're gonna use, how much is too much, how much power is too much. I know what a data center is, I know what an information technology facility is, and I know that they use these things and that they, those are impacts for that type of facility, but I don't know like the specifics on how to define that. And what would that be? Just a facility that uses this much stuff? I don't know what that is. I don't know where to put that, but I know what this is.
Oh,
That makes sense.
no, I don't think it does. I mean, I could have an information processing center that was one guy sitting at a computer, helping people with Google searches.
This
This
definition.
this definition-
Read the definition.
There's a definition here, so
Okay.
but does not include smaller scale businesses such as retail shelves, customer facing services, or general offices using as a principal use. Typically, the facilities required dedicated uninterruptible power, blah, blah,
I
blah.
think I could find some pretty low key facilities that would meet that definition. And so if the reason you're having definition is because you're afraid it's gonna be used is 30,000 acre feet of water, why can't we say if you use 30,000 acre feet of water, we got a problem?
Because I don't know what that is.
Well, but I don't know that this definition helps.
What other things uses that much water? What and power? What are you thinking of, I guess, that are different from this?
Okay, there are ways to cool data centers that don't require any water at all. There's power plants that are air cooled. So you shouldn't assume that just because it's processing data, it's gonna use up all the water.
And you didn't answer my question though.
Okay.
What other centers are you talking about?
And we
what
have power
other
plant in the
other
land use.
businesses use that type of water and that type of power? What are you talking about?
Well, I don't know that I need to have an example. Look at a power plant. What do we do? with
It's in the
power
land use
Power
table.
plants in the land use table.
plants?
And it has other things. It's a power plant often is putting off emissions and things. So it's gonna have a different zoning. It'll probably have to be industrial only with a conditional use
Conditional
permit.
use in industrial.
Well, all right, it just seems to me what you're painting is a picture where we would identify everything we could possibly think of that would use over a certain amount of water, and then we put that in the table instead of just saying, if you use over this much water, this is how we regulate you.
Or we could use this definition and it'd be the same thing.
Oh, we got, a big slaughterhouse or something.
We define by use.
Slaughterhouse is also in
In
here.
the-
It's in the
Okay.
land use table.
Well,
We define-
challenge my imagination.
And it has different
And if there's something that's not in the
Nuisance
land
things.
use table, then the planning director says which use it fits in, and then that's what we go by. That's how it works. There's a note under the land use table that says that.
Well, all right, it just seems to me that that's objectionable and that you're attempting to list every possible thing that could cover, when what you really mean is a big water power user. That's the thing that you're trying to charms around and make a conditional use in industrial or commercial. So why can't we just say what we mean?
Okay. I mean, and you guys can
Yep, that's-
decide what you want me to do.
Uh,
I've said my piece, I guess.
David, I like your definition. We can potentially get a value of the power production in Albany County. And say a quarter of using more, so to your last line, give it anything that is using more than a quarter of the overall production, something, that might, make Vern happy.
And I'll say I'm fine with this as it is. For my 2 cents.
And I think we need to move fast on this and make it conditional, so at least we can say, we can actually look at something and say, hey, you can't get a permit in 2
Right.
weeks.
I think maybe it's being confused, maybe it's not, I don't know. But this is to make it a conditional use. We can come back after it's conditional use and put together standards for all of this stuff. We just want to get it to where it has to at least come through the Board of County Commissioners and make it a public process if this were to happen.
Absolutely.
This is already in the table. We're not adding anything to the table.
It's already in the table, we just need to make it conditional.
Conditional use and define it.
100%.
Yep.
I agree.
I think it's a good starting point.
I'll go that far.
I think that's very important.
So I guess, what do you want us to do?
To do this, go
Go
for it,
forward.
Kevin, we'll need
We need a
to,
motion.
Okay, well then,
right? Do you want to
Yep.
vote?
Let's have a motion.
I move that we,
set a
adopt
public hearing.
the
Set a public hearing.
document as is, amending the, use table as suggested by the staff at the first stage.
We can't adopt it today.
We need to set a public
Set a
hearing.
public hearing for 30 days.
For 30
from now.
days, 45 days?
30 days here, 45 at commissioners.
Okay, so I'm rephrasing my motion. I move that we,
Yeah.
that we, accept a proposal, the staff proposal on changing the, data centers from approved to conditional use and send it out to, public comment.
And we'll
For a
have a
public-
hearing on, in April.
In the April
8th.
April regular meeting.
Yes.
I second.
Are we clear on the motion?
we are, I'd like to offer an amendment to the motion.
Yeah, well, are we clear on the motion?
Yes.
All right, please go ahead.
And that would be to make these a conditional use in industrial rather than industrial and commercial.
Or do you want it prohibited in commercial or allowed in?
You can address that, in between. What is provided as part of the public notice and what, is ultimately recommended.
Okay, I'm not following. I'm just saying, the suggestion from staff was to make it conditional in commercial as well as in industrial. I'm suggesting we just make it conditional in industrial.
And prohibited.
Approved and
No,
Prohibited.
everything else, everywhere else. That's an amendment to the motion to accept this.
I'd be okay with that.
Okay.
yeah, I'm okay
Barb,
with that. We'll call it a friendly.
Barb,
Okay
you
with
know-
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's called a friendly amendment, but
All right.
it just needs to
Friendly
turn us in a
amendment.
second.
So once again, I'll ask everyone, we're clear on the motion? It has been
Yes.
seconded.
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Very good. Okay, item 12, commission training discussion.
Can we have a break?
We can have a break. Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute break. All right, we're on item 12, commission training discussion.
What do you guys want to do training? I think that's what we're talking about, right?
That's right.
That's my report.
Vern put together it's a list of training topics. And when I took a look at that, I thought that pretty much covers the waterfront. So I'm happy with what Vern put together. If you other commissioners have things you'd like to add to that list, now's the time to speak up.
I don't know if that was distributed.
I don't know.
I think you're the only one.
Well, in that case,
Okay,
so
I think it was just sent to like staff and you.
yeah, I think that's right. So I wasn't, I mean, there's,
surprise.
I was like, what?
Vern has prepared a comprehensive list of topics for our contemplated.
I have it in front of me.
Commissioner training.
Or how about we distribute that and everybody can give their
How
feedback
about-
on it?
Yeah.
That works.
Sounds good.
Do you want to set a date?
Yes.
Yes, for training.
I'm open to suggestions. I think we typically talked about April last time, but maybe I'm not remembering correctly.
April would be.
Yeah,
I have a question. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead,
How
Barb.
long? How long do you foresee the training to be?
Well,
3
if you
hours,
saw,
4 hours? What do you look?
Two?
I think last time it was 3 hours.
I think it was 3 hours left.
3 hours.
I'm gonna say 3-ish hours also. Who knows?
Okay.
is that what we want
We
this
can only
time?
guess.
Well, our preparers can prepare around something. We don't want the 3-day version. We want the 3-hour version.
Yeah, well, I mean, it will depend on how much David and Matt want to give us in response to what we asked for. I mean, the requirement is not that we have a 3-hour meeting or a 5-hour meeting. The idea is that we get training that's useful to, keep us on track and get our new members up to speed also on the things they should know about. If we do that, then we've accomplished our mission. Vern, what are you doing here?
I was just looking at my calendar.
Oh, okay. Good.
I'm playing games. What are you doing?
Just I didn't know you were gonna read off the topics that you had or whatnot. Yeah, so again, I'm open for suggestions for dates. We do have a regular monthly meeting in April, of course. Well, first of all, does April sound okay to everyone here? Sometime in April? Yeah.
Mhm.
So maybe sometime in the second half of April?
I think we're probably looking to Mr. Gertz and Mr. Ayers, so let's.
About like the third Wednesday, we could do the second Wednesday for the regular meeting, the third Wednesday for the.
15th, you're thinking?
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
Text it.
15th of April.
Tax
Do
day.
same old.
Matt, do they
Yeah,
do
why not?
anything special about it being an executive? No.
No, you said it. You just said it was a special meeting on the agenda. It just says
Okay.
executive session pursuant to whichever one is the to receive confidential or information which is confidential under law.
Okay.
I mean, in case anyone's worried about taxes, then we could move back a day.
No, I was being smart.
No, I mean, it's actually a valid point. I could be the one.
Take the time.
5 o'clock still seems as good as any.
Fine with me, yeah.
All right, 5 o'clock on the 15th. Do we need to vote on
I'm
that?
good.
Yes,
I'm
please.
good.
Usually, the only thing that is required for a special meeting is for the chair to issue a agenda to the members of the agency. I think within. Actually, yeah, it's pretty much just that.
Okay.
Are the materials subject to that executive session privilege? What can you tell us about that?
That's a really good question.
I do have.
Maybe you think about that.
They're probably not. just the way that they're structured.
Okay, if that's the case, as you reminded us, the PowerPoint that was put together in 2023 was excellent. Is that something that could be distributed? Is that sensitive, or what was your thinking on that whole?
Distributed, I mean, in what regard, like just before the meeting, prior?
Well, like right now, let people respond to it and see if they have any questions, or do we distribute it at the meeting, or is
Yeah,
it just for use at the meeting? Or well, you didn't distribute it.
No,
Didn't you send it out? Last month?
Yes,
No,
I
Yes.
sent out the wrong one last month.
that was a different one.
That was 2 trainings ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I could send that out to everyone right now, so
I
they have an
mean, you sent
idea.
out,
The 2023 one was a huge improvement on previous ones. That's why it flagged in my mind. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, you just need PowerPoint thing. It's pretty exciting. So, we can definitely do that.
Again, unless there was some sensitivity to it, that would be great. And then everybody could look ahead of time and come with questions. If you wanted to look through it and see if there was something of concern.
Yeah, I'll send it out to everyone right now.
Okay, Matt, so to be clear, I need to put together an agenda for that meeting, and that's
Well-
the requirement.
No, you don't.
Okay.
You guys can.
yeah.
I mean, if you guys are talking about it, so you're agreeing to it, we're just gonna send you out the information.
Yeah.
So that's.
Yeah.
I mean, we're
April
good to go, and I'll
All right.
send some stuff, something to
Great.
the papers.
Yeah.
April 15th at 5.
April 15th at 5. Okay, staff updates, item 13.
All right, so from your last meeting, you guys approved Skate Laramie zoning district amendment. That went to the board and it was approved. Then, so we received directives to publish for the subdivision mobile home park zoning certificate applications and an update to our fee schedule at the last Board of County Commissioners meeting. What a directive to publish is we have to go to them to ask to publish a public hearing and post the materials. And so we did that. April 7th is the day that all of that information will be going to the Board of County Commissioners for a public hearing. And we'll see if they approve those things. Hopefully they will. And right now, when it comes to enforcements, we have around 100 cases, which I think is about what we had last time. So we're slowly checking a few boxes, but as we
But we're
check those
also opening
boxes, we
more.
find more.
What,
So
what are those? Just in general?
enforcement,
You know, what kinds of things are,
People that build without a permit, people that
have junky properties,
nuisance
tires.
stuff.
Yeah, a lot of like what we've been finding lately is like somebody calls about something and they have an address or something, and then we look up the address and it doesn't exist. But there's a building there that shouldn't exist, and then we contact them about making that right, or it could be lighting. Somebody calls about bright lights, so we have an active clay case to go out to see if the lights are in violation. Yeah, and that's just what Joe said. So.
And after these next two zoning resolution amendments, what kind of things are you looking at next?
We still have the battery energy storage systems that I want to look more into. Those are the big battery storage facilities that are kind of companions now to renewable energy. So that is on my list. We're still working on wastewater regulations, which you guys don't necessarily see or whatever. What else is coming up, Joe? We do want to dive into the land use table and add definitions and do some of that. Joe's done some work on that, but we need to probably circle back on that.
Dust it off.
Dust it off, yeah. So yeah, and obviously we'll be working on what we just worked on tonight. That's probably where the focus will be before we get to some of those other things. But
You got a question?
Yeah, I attended a piece the other evening from the Housing Authority and asked them, Fred Schmeckel, Fred Schmeckel, I think, is heading that. For this.
oh, I've seen his name in the paper.
Yeah, a very competent fellow for the city, and they're working on affordable housing. And I'd asked him if there was a county component of that at all, and I was just wondering if that come up on you guys' radar at all. It would kind of affect the Laramie growth plan. And are you involved in those discussions of the affordable housing and that they've established a trust to buy land and so forth? Is there any county bit of that you guys are playing?
The only thing I've been reached out to about is if we wanted any information on their website. So, we do have county representatives on that little board they have. Bailey Wick, our grants manager, she's participating doing that. I would honestly be happy to be more involved with that. I think it's interesting. I think it's important, but we weren't on the invite, so.
Okay. So Bailey was there at the meeting.
Yeah, so Bailey should know what's kind of going on, but.
The city's moving towards changing zoning regulations and trying to increase the density and changing some of their zoning and their development standards to encourage that kind of thing, which has echoes of what we've been trying to do with immediately adjacent to the county. Sure. City zoning, that's why I bring it up, so.
I mean, I guess that would be where we would be involved, is just that rural urban interface.
Mm-hmm.
Because everywhere else, we're trying to keep it large, basically. I mean,
Yeah.
Our philosophy in the county is keep open spaces and, and keep, less dense, less density. Which is opposite of the city who wants density.
Density
In the city.
has affordability. I mean, those are the two that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I got.
All right. David, do you have any talk on the additional overpass on the interstate, another exit from the interstate, or no one is talking about that?
So there is actually people talking about that. There's a couple of grants that are out there right now. Yeah, you're talking like 30th Street?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the county is pursuing a grant, and I think it's more of a planning grant that would include Skyline and 30th, and some of that. It kind of includes this area, so that the county is doing that. The city is pursuing a grant that includes a lot of that same area, but I think it's more the city side, but it would include the overpass.
Okay.
As well. So it's being discussed. There are plans to try to get money and funding for some of these things, but nothing's been decided. Like, I think we have a grant in to the federal government for that area, for their planning and things, but with just the way things are right now, we haven't heard back from them.
So to refine my question, is anyone that is involved in planning and another exit from the interstate. It's have been including wildlife overpasses as something that we would like to include.
So the transportation study plan that I think I'm getting things. I don't know is
Okay.
the answer to the question. I'm not close enough to any of these projects to know exactly what's in them.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so I'm not sure if that's included. I know that we did get a grant for some kind of connectivity thing, which includes connections for pedestrians, bikers, automobiles, but I'm not sure if it included wildlife. So
Okay.
I doubt that it did, but maybe, I don't know.
If anybody's interested, I'll be happy to lend my assistance.
Expertise.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, I'll let people know. Like I said, I don't know if that's something they're.
I mean, if we are going to build another overpass, it makes more sense to include it in it and make the whole, development conducive to this than come back 10 years later and say, hey, we missed an opportunity.
Sure. Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Whatever me.
Joe, do you have anything? No. Barb, do you have any commissioner comments you'd like to make?
Nope, nope, no.
How about yourself,
No, I'm good.
Ralph?
I do.
Go ahead.
So I read an article, I think it was in City or City News, that the Water Commission, do we have a Water Commission in the state? Has sent a notice to all the municipalities and industries along the North Platte River, asking them to review the water rights documentation, because they predict that they will have to shut down water access to secondary water right holders. That was the whole article. I couldn't find any more information. I don't know if the Laramie River is considered part of the North Platte water. I mean, we are part of the watershed. Have you guys seen anything like that? No.
I think you're talking about the allocation
I
under the
saw,
decree. Sorry, go ahead.
I saw that article. I saw that article too.
Yeah, I just couldn't find any more information. Brent, you know?
Yeah, under the terms of the modified North Platte decree, the North Platte drainage in Wyoming, if an allocation is what they call it, is predicted, which means there's not enough water to meet all the irrigation demands come summer.
Yeah.
Then starting February 1, they go under regulation for the 1904 reservoir, Pathfinder Reservoir filling. And that's what knocks all those secondaries out.
Gotcha.
So this is
Yeah.
this is the thing that happens. Oh, it's been quite a number of years, but all the models are predicting a low runoff year in the North Platte Basin, and specifically triggered by the expected inflow to Pathfinder Reservoir. The Bureau declares it to likely be an allocation year, and then the agreement is that Wyoming will regulate off a certain tranche of water rights.
And that would be below Pathfinder?
No, everything above Pathfinder that
Above.
might feed into it is the point, because they're
Yeah.
trying to fill that reservoir.
Right.
So, Laramie should not be affected by that. Now, Rollins is. Some of those communities are being forced to reduce their water rights to pre-1904 priorities or by supplemental water, which is available to them out of an enlargement of the capacity of Pathfinder Reservoir. Again, I spent 20 years working on that lawsuit, so I kind of have a general idea of what they're going on, and work with the state engineer's office on a daily basis. And they were all in a tizzy about the fact that they're gonna have to send out all these notices and a lot of gnashing of teeth, and that all ends May 1. So yeah, there's the thumbnail version of what's going on.
Okay. Oh, good to know.
Anything else?
No, that was mine.
Bert, do you have any comments? I just have one comment, well, two comments. There is another I don't know if I have the term right, USAC meeting. in
USAC.
March.
Oh,
USAC.
you said.
I'm the representative. I think I'll be able to make that meeting for Barb and Craig. This is an annual meeting, takes place with representatives from the city and the county. I think that's all.
Why not?
Why not? To discuss allocation and priorities of roads, around. And every year a sum comes from, I guess, the federal government. And it gets socked away for this priority list. And there's typically a meeting I've been to, just a vote and some discussion before that. If anyone here would like to take my place, you're more than welcome to. But I plan on being available and being there. And then the other comment I had was, I started going through counties in Wyoming and got through first quarter of counties just to see what other counties were doing as far as planning. And I quickly came across several counties which really don't have much of a planning function at all. And I was surprised to see that, but if y'all didn't know that, that's true. We're actually pretty well staffed between the 8 of us, if you count those 5 commissioners. Anyway, so that was all I had.
So on that USAC, did we appoint you for a period, or are you in till
I have
you
no
retire?
clue. I have no clue. I just knew I was the
term for
representative.
that?
I think it was done annually. It was, if I remember correctly, it was like someone has to go. Is that going to be?
And I'm perfectly happy to
I think
have a vote here.
kinda
and
you
have someone
until
else do it.
No, because it was Mar. You were like, didn't you fill in for Mara?
No,
No, Mara filled in for
Mara.
me.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
And she voted correctly, by the way, and he would not have. So.
Well, last time I think that's kind of cool, but okay.
I suppose, do we need to officially reappoint somebody?
No, I mean, he already got the invite.
Oh, all right, all right. You're in till you.
It's not in bylaws.
It's actually not a big deal either.
No.
So it's really
I'm not
however.
dismissing it on the other hand, but, yeah.
If you wanted to pose him though, I guess.
It might be, yeah, it might be in USAC's bylaws, but I don't know those.
And for all I know, it could be that I have to travel that day, in which case I'll be getting in contact with someone here.
When is the meeting?
It is
It's actually in April, I believe, and I don't remember the
It's
date
March.
scheduled.
24th at 1 p.m.
Aha, okay, well, there you go.
If you get stuck, I'll figure it for you.
All right, well, in that
Just,
case.
just
Oh,
one thing that
one thing.
I need to say that I may not be able to attend the March meeting in person. And I'll make myself available via Zoom.
Okay.
I'm going to be in Pineville that week.
Okay. So, with that, our next regular meeting is March 11th, 5 p.m. here. And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.